Brought to you by Charity Mobile. Switch to the phone company that supports your beliefs. All plans start under $50 before taxes and surcharges. Use promo code TRADITION at CharityMobile.com for a special offer. One of the things that marks someone as a heretic, one of the most common things, is today this tendency for some self-described Christians to say that the Bible got it wrong on whatever, typically sin of the flesh, the person making that claim happens to have an unhealthy interest in. Often it's a claim made by some surprisingly high-profile figures, especially in the Catholic Church. Father James Martin has gone on the record to say he believed that St. Paul got it wrong about a certain sin that he has an unhealthy interest in, especially for a priest, a sin that the Bible in several places calls a sin that cries out to heaven for justice. You'd think the priest would know better. He is a Jesuit, after all, and regardless of whatever else you might want to say about the Jesuits, their training and formation is rigorous. They are supposed to know sacred scripture. But for whatever reason, James Martin is completely comfortable saying the Bible got it wrong. If he was the only one saying that, we'd be in a much better place. But he's not. This is a view held by many, and it has a profound effect on the church, well outside of the dioceses of bishops or priests who might be saying this. I want to give you an example of what happens here when doctrine and dogma are no longer taken seriously. So we go here to CathCon, or Catholic Conclave, with a headline, German Diocese of Fulda expects no new ordinations before 2032, devastated vineyard. A major diocese is not expecting another priestly vocation for 7 years. And I assure you they're expecting priestly retirements between now and then. Now, Fulda is not the diocese that we're going to focus on for our main story, but this is a snapshot in time. Most of the dioceses in Germany are like this. Not coincidentally, most of these bishops, as you'll find out here in a moment, were big, full-throated supporters of the German synodal way, which decided to throw the integrity of the Catholic faith out the window in the name of synodality. Here's some details from the article. Quote, the number of priestly candidates in the Hessian dioceses has been declining for a long time. In Fulda, the last 3 new priests in the diocese for the foreseeable future were ordained. After that, only 1 more will follow in all of Hesse in 2025. On Saturday, Fulda's Bishop Michael Gerber ordained the 3 deacons Marcel Kraswitz from Bruckobel, Daniel Scheer from Bad Solmunster, and Andrzej Suminski from Gudensburg. The setting was magnificent with Fulda Cathedral. The 3 young men have reached an important milestone in their lives. The event was also a joyful occasion for the Catholic Church, yet it brought a serious question back into focus. What is the future of priestly training here? As the Diocese of Fulda reported in response to a request that Kravitz, Scheer, and Zuminski are expected to be the last men to be ordained as priests there for at least 7 years in the entire diocese. Currently, there are no other applicants for the training. Zimski is the last seminarian to complete his studies in Fulda, the Fuldaer Zeitung, a local newspaper, reported. There are currently no candidates for the 7-year priestly training program. And so after this Saturday, there will likely be no ordinations for a long time in the Arch-Catholic Diocese of Fulda, where in the past there were several per year. Is it possible that career changers who have already begun studying theology and only later decided to serve as priests could fill the gap the diocese announced? However, this is not expected. Ordination 3 priests Marcel Kravitz, Daniel Scheer, and Andrzej Zimski, the 3 lie prone on the floor of the sanctuary Fulda Cathedral in white robes. End quote. And as you can see on screen, although we won't cover that part, the bishops, who are all full-throated members of the German Synodal Way, blame clerical celibacy. Weird, because that's not the issue here. See, the bishop of that diocese was a participant in the German Synodal Way, big supporter of it. He is currently participating in the German Synodal Way. And for those who aren't aware, the German Synodal Way has been going on since at least 2019, where the German church has met and decided they're going to pursue essentially reforms. They invoke the problem with wicked men who should not be priests, but who somehow ended up in the priesthood anyway, who did unbelievably evil things to the most young and sometimes to other seminarians. They invoke that problem, ignoring that it's the sin that James Martin has such an unhealthy interest in that's core to that problem, as all the research consistently shows on it. And yet, those same bishops, with their German synodal way, invoke that problem and then say, we need to throw Catholic morality out, basically. We need to get with the times. They say this about that sin, women's ordination, what have you. They were told during the Synod on Synodality that they need to slow down and go with the whole church. Not to stop. No, Francis's Vatican told them to just slow down, go with the whole church. And we don't know what's going to happen next, but the German bishops are reportedly under Pope Leo not terribly thrilled with the new pope, so take that as a hopeful sign. But I decided to bring you that because we have in a neighboring diocese here a different kind of problem, directly related to this one. Headline from Also Catholic Conclave, German Catholic bishop. The Bible has, quote, no eternal truths on the sin that James Martin has such an unhealthy interest in for a priest. Yeah, you have a bishop here denying categorically that there are no eternal truths on that sin. And why limit it there? You see, the problem is, once you deny the inerrancy of Scripture, not only are you then a formal heretic, let's be real, this is a Catholic bishop who cannot possibly know that you have to accept the teachings of the Bible to be any kind of a Christian. Once you are that, you are a formal heretic, which means he's not even Catholic anymore. But putting all that little detail aside for just a moment, when you deny one, you deny another, and you deny another. And we've seen this slippery slope happening in Germany. They deny that Jesus ordained men. So now they are trying to find ways to get women's ordination to happen. They're putting the laity in charge of dioceses and parishes, administering them, inverting the hierarchy and the hierarchical nature of the faith that was established himself by Jesus Christ. Here are the details from this German bishop who doesn't know you shouldn't say some things to the media. Quote, the Bishop of Mainz opposes the unquestioning inference of eternal truths from Bible passages on the James Martin sin. Current findings from the humanities must also be taken into account. Bishop of Mainz, Peter Kohlgraf, warns against viewing Bible passages on that sin as, quote, timelessly valid guidelines. One must always understand the passages from the Holy Scriptures on that sin in their contemporary context, Kohlgraf said in a Sunday morning broadcast on Südwestrundfunk, which is a TV station. Let's end the quote there for a moment. We must understand these things in their contemporary, meaning today's context. Not understand the sin in the context of the time, which is something heretics say that is at least more reasonable. We have to understand the passages of sacred scripture written thousands of years ago. Most of the in-your-face condemnations of the sin in question come from the Old Testament, although there are certainly passages in the New Testament that address this as well. We must understand these things in the contemporary Testament. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a form of relativism. That is sort of a chronological moral relativism, and the German bishops are not above such things. And the bishops who defend that sin so much are sort of like our pal James Martin. We always have to ask, what is their real motivation for this? They'll invoke, humanity, human dignity, and all the rest of that. But they do spend such a weird amount of time on that sin that many people are understandably asking if there's something deeper, more, shall we say, personal about this for them. Let's go back to the German bishop. Quote, he emphasized, I don't take a single sentence from the Bible and say, this is the sentence that applies unquestioningly to everyone. One cannot, quote, simply derive timelessly valid eternal truths from biblical passages on that sin. Rather, contemporary findings from the humanities must always be taken into account. He treats biblical texts differently, quote, than simply using them as a quarry. Scientifically based theology is, quote, considerably more advanced today. He continues, quote, there are openly James Martin type priests in Germany. Well, there's your problem. And they are good pastors. He emphasized that today the Catholic Church in Germany can speak very openly about the topic of the sin in question. He has been Bishop of Mainz since 2017. He spoke at the SWR Democracy Forum at Hambach Castle on the topic of taboos in our society between morality, power, and the media. Other guests at the panel, moderated by publicist Michael Friedman, included filmmaker Mo Azumong and journalist Ronan Stink. And, mostly, quote, that framing you saw there of power is Marxist, by the way. So, that shouldn't surprise anybody. But there it is. You can't look at the Bible inerrantly. He is a formal heretic. Formal. He's not Catholic. Can a formal heretic be a bishop? Can someone who is not a Catholic be a bishop of the church? I'll let you think about that question, because that is a scary rabbit hole to go down. I'm curious what you think about all this, so let me know in the comments, please. And like and subscribe if you haven't. It certainly helps. So does sharing this on social media. That helps a lot, too. And if you've ever thought about supporting the work we do here at Return to Tradition, Patreon, Subscribestar, that kind of thing, we have links in the description box below, all of them asked for by viewers of this channel. They do help keep these daily messages coming, as well as that join button below. But if you're subscribed, it might appear as a subscribe plus. It does help keep these daily messages coming and is greatly appreciated. And as always, pray for the church. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.